we have actually produced our forecast at the National Institute recently, and a couple of days ago actually, and the forecast today by the Bank of England is even more gloomy than we had forecasted. But we can't say we didn't see this coming, because we've had inflationary pressures as a result of what's happening in Ukraine. So one would like to think that the bank had to be this hawkish in its approach today.
When it comes to inflation, do you think we're sometimes guilty, it's not just this story, many stories, of being a little bit parochial, ignoring what's happening out there in the rest of the world? We know that inflation is a global problem. I'm looking, for instance, at some figures from the OECD. They calculate our inflation measure in a different way. They say it's about 8.2. By the standards of developed nations, that's below the average. America, 9.1, Spain, 10.2, Sweden, Austria, Portugal, 8.7, Netherlands, 8.6. If you switch on a lot of coverage of inflation in Britain or read the newspapers, you think we're an international inflationary pariah. It's not true.
Well, that is true. That is true. And it all depends on, like you said, how we go about measuring and capturing these inflationary figures. There are many ways to measure it. So it all depends on, as you said, how you go about. The ONS will have a different approach to the equivalent statistical institute, for example, in France. So it all depends on how you go about measuring your CPI, for example.
Is raising interest rates the only club in the Bank of England's locker when it comes to tackling inflation?
It isn't, but it is what the bank deems the most appropriate at this time. Of course, we have quantitative tightening that the bank can and should and will do as the governor has announced. But at this time, the bank feels the most appropriate way to tackle this surge in inflation is to move with interest rate hikes. But this isn't a phenomenon that we're only seeing in the United Kingdom. This is something that we're seeing globally. We've seen massive rate hikes across the globe since we have sort of emerged from the pandemic. So this isn't a situation that is unique to the United Kingdom, of course. So this isn't a surprise. What I've seen today. Many might have argued that the bank should have been raising rates even sooner than they did, and should have been more aggressive in their rate hikes before now.
Doctor, can we invite you to join the prediction game and tell us where you think interest rates will stop and when they might start coming, when inflation will start coming down?
Well, our own forecast at the National Institute sees interest rates reaching around 3% by Q2, Q3 of next year. Now we see inflation coming back below target just in 2024, so around the first quarter of 2024. And I think this is even a bit more optimistic than the bank has suggested. So, yeah, my own view, for what it's worth, is that I don't see inflation coming below the bank's 2% target before 2024.